Hi, you're very welcome. This silly season, that's what one of my friends calls it. And I was called to share a bit of time and to look at how we could ease our anxiety during the holiday seasons. And we all have our special tips and tricks that we can use to feel better. And I have a couple that I'll share with you today. So, another one of my friends was talking about the holidays, and she was not happy. She was very cranky about it. And she said, I have so much to do. It has to be perfect, or it's just going to be ruined. And to have that pressure and to have that amount of anxiety going on during this time is so difficult. And then I was talking to another gal over in America, and she was talking about how, kind of like this second picture here, she was already overloaded. She couldn't take on one more thing, but she was taking on added things. And she'd actually bought and done a lot of preparations for her holidays, and she was so overwhelmed with it that she just covered it all over with a blanket and kind of went into her bedroom and hid for a bit because it was just too much and she couldn't deal with it. And then there's some people, like one of my relatives in America, who, nope, not doing the holidays. And that person just closes the door and waits for this silly season to be over. I think, though, I find that if I can recharge myself and I can have a little bit of a breath, I can do more things and I can get through the day. So today I'm going to share 3 or 4 tips with you on how to ease your anxiety and how to come back into your body. And it's one of those things where I'm going to do it along with you because I'm in this silly season too. And I want to talk a little bit before we get into practicing the holds and all that just to recognize that anxiety is a challenging thing for a lot of people. I was doing some research last year when I was doing a talk for the mind-body experience, and it really surprised me to learn that 1 in 9 of us has anxiety. And it can be a whole range of things where it's a little bit of anxiety or situational anxiety, or it can be fully debilitating. But if we were sitting in here in a room with 9 other people, there'd be at least one of us experiencing anxiety. So I encourage you to mind yourself and to look for the help by talking it through with someone or getting some exercise and eating healthy, asking for help from your GP, and use some relaxation techniques. I have a information pamphlet that I made up, and I'll be happy to share it with anyone who lists that they'd like to receive it in the chat. Or no, there's no chat in this, but if you put a comment in, I can send it on to you. It's complimentary. I just want people to feel better. And in it, there's some links to very useful sites where we can get help with our anxiety. So take a moment and just check in with yourself. How are you? And how is your level of tension right now? How's your breathing? Are you breathing up here? How's your heart rate? A lot of times when we have anxiety, it pounds and it runs so fast. And how are your thoughts? Are they running amok? And I chose to put in this image of the bunny rabbits because a lot of times when we are going through our days, we have what I would call the frightened rabbit syndrome, where we will just run off so easily. So make a note of where you're at, and I included the ranking scale. So just make a note for yourself, not for anybody else, to check in. And if you are having loads of tension, it would be really high with a 5. And if you have less tension, you can pick the choice by number or by the emoji. So once you've noted that, and I should note my own actually. Let's see. Okay, got it. And we'll check in again at the end so you can compare. So today, I have this really weird sounding word that I pronounce, and everybody goes, I can't pronounce that. But I'll keep talking about it because I found it very helpful, and my clients have too. Jin Shin Jyutsu is a complementary light touch therapy that supports you as you manage your stress and health conditions. And it helps to transform stress to serenity. I'm not going to go into a lot of details with it because today is not the time to do that. Today is the time to relax and to ease any tension that you might be having. You'll find other discussions that I have posted that we talk a little bit about the energy background and everything, how it runs through our bodies and how we can use certain places on our bodies to help it feel better and have things flow more freely. But let's start with a very simple hold. This is called a mudra, a Sanskrit word for a hand position. And we hold our little finger and our ring finger. And just gently, you don't have to squeeze it or move it around or do anything like that. And just hold that for a moment. And it's not like you have to force your body to relax. You don't have to think a certain way or follow a certain pattern or make sure that you breathe in a certain amount and exhale a certain amount. Those all help, but that's not what this is about. I have a hand picture up there as well, a drawing, because each of our fingers helps us with certain challenges that we have in our lives and supports our body in certain ways. So by holding your little finger, that's helping with effort and when things are just really hard. And holding our ring finger helps us when we feel a loss or grieving or we're just having a problem moving through our lives. So this is one thing that you can do to help yourself. And you can hold it for as long or as short as you'd like. There's not a time limit on when you're doing the self-care. The other thing that you might find really useful is to hold these fingers a little bit differently for anxiety and also for heart palpitations. With those same two fingers, if you take your index finger and put it between the little finger and the ring finger, and then bring the rest of your fingers between on the other side of your ring finger and hold the little finger with your thumb. I don't know if you can see that, but this can actually help to reduce anxiety a lot, and it helps with if someone's having heart issues or heart palpitations. There have been people who've had that happen, and by holding this as they're getting help from 999 or 112, it actually can help you hang out a bit longer and to be more okay. And I was driving, some of you may have heard this story before, but I was driving on one of the motorways here in Ireland, and a car cut me off very close, and it just really threw me. So I pulled off to the side of the motorway, and I held these on a side road and just breathed. And it really helped to settle me so that I can go on with my journey, because it was not a pleasant place to be. But as I held this, it helped me to breathe more slowly, to think more clearly, heart rate slowed down. And if you're doing it for heart rate and things, the left hand is better. If you're just doing it to ease your anxiety, it doesn't matter if it's left or right hand. So that's the first tip that I'm going to share with you. And then the next one is another set of helps from Jin Shin Jyutsu, because if we hold our center palm and hold the outside of our wrist, this helps us in two ways. It helps us to come back to our center and to be more grounded. It also helps us to connect with our intuition. The outside of the wrist is one of the energy centers in our body that helps us to connect with our intuition and to have a better connection with supports that we can receive from the universe. And the center palm can do that as well. The other thing that I often like to do is to hold this, and if I'm trying to calm myself, to just put my hand on my heart, because then you can have your heart-centered focus. And by holding the outside of your wrist, it gives an added oomph to that, which is really nice actually. And again, just breathe and relax. And if you're having anxiety, remember that it will pass. I know that sometimes when we have anxiety, we think it's never going to end, or I'm going to die, and it really does feel that way. But when we use techniques to engage our parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest or healing part of our nervous system, it can help us to come out of really difficult emotions and feelings and challenges that we have in our lives. Now, I'm going through these very quickly today because I'm conscious that we all have a lot of things to do, and the shops are still open for those who need to go to shops. I know it's the middle of the day for those here in Ireland, so I'm conscious of your time and I want to respect that. But as you're holding these, I would recommend that you hold them for 3 to 5 minutes, or I was doing some self-care earlier and it was a rough morning, so I actually held it for about an hour and I felt so much better. So that's our second tip. And just like with all the others, you can do them either way, either hand. And then another part of our hands that we can find really helpful is our thumbs. And if you think about it, babies suck their thumbs and they calm themselves. Holding our thumbs can help us as well. And one of the gals I know said, well, can I hold both thumbs at the same time? And, well, she's a little more flexible than I am, but of course you can. And sometimes people will ask me, should I hold my left thumb or my right thumb, or any of the positions? And it's really whatever you're called to, because your body has an innate wisdom. The energy that comes through us serves us and helps us to get through our days. Now, it's not a substitute for conventional medical treatment. I always say definitely go to your GP and follow their recommendations, because this is a complementary therapy. So it's an add-on to. It's another set of tricks that you can put in your back pocket for your benefit. So I guess I can hold both my thumbs at the same time. This, in addition to helping you turn worry into peace and worry into wonder for this wonderful time of year, holding your thumbs can also help with your digestion, because I know sometimes if we're a little bit wound up, our digestion can get a little bit wonky. It can also help if you're in a crowded space and you're feeling a little bit cramped in, because it helps with our boundaries. And it's one of those things where if our thumb energy is in harmony, everything else can fall in line. And I'm called to share one more thing with you. It's not specifically about anxiety, but it's support for fatigue. And I know that if I'm fatigued and worn out, my anxiety will be much worse. So if you put your hands just here on the top of your head and rest them there, that helps to rejuvenate everything in your being and helps to clear out any dregs that you have. I know that our crown chakra is up there as well, so anyone who works with the chakras would be well familiar with that. This is a lot easier to do in bed, but or if you're leaning back in a nice armchair. But it's something that I also think of whenever I see that holiday movie, Home Alone. So, and as you're holding all these different positions, you may find your experience is different. Everyone is different. But if you feel some kind of pulsation, you have an awareness of what's going on in your body. And I'm impressed because it took me years to be able to sense those energy patterns. Other people don't feel the energies. They're not aware of it in their bodies, but it's still moving through and supporting you. Some people will find that, I know for a long time how I could tell if I'd held my fingers long enough or held a sequence long enough, my body would just relax. And I could breathe a bit better. And it's one of those things too where if you're worried about overdoing holding certain positions, your body will look after you. If you're holding it and it's had enough, you'll find yourself wandering off to do other things. Or if you're lucky enough to be resting in bed, when you're doing them, you'll fall asleep and your hands will just fall off. So it's very much a self-regulating thing where you can trust your body and trust that you'll have the intuition to know what you need to do. So we've done a few things today, and I invite you to check in with yourself again. It's the same scale as before. I've changed the picture of the rabbit because hopefully you're feeling a bit more relaxed. And if I check in with myself, my tension is better. Breathing, about the same. Heart rate is a bit better, and my thoughts are definitely better. Because when we pay attention to our bodies, they give us signals and they give us the information that we need. When we don't, we can get more and more wound up. So I want to thank you for taking a bit of time out of your day, whether it's on the day or if it's on the replay. And I want to thank you for sharing a bit of Jin Shin Jyutsu bliss with me. And as I said at the beginning of the talk, I have these self-help notes or self-care sheets that are electronic, and I'd be happy to send them out to anyone just because I know how it gets when I watch a video or talk to somebody and what did they say? So it's nice to have it in a written format sometimes. And one of the other things that you might find useful, I'm not going to take the time today to do it, but there's extended sequences in Jin Shin Jyutsu that can help us to come back to center. And it's one of those things where we hold 7 different positions on our body, and it helps all the functions in our body and helps us to connect with how our body is using the gifts that we're given. And I think we all need a bit more of that. So I hope you found these tips helpful. And if you'd like more information, you can get in touch. There's also a lot of self-care tips and additional information on the Energy Flows website, and there's quite a few videos on different topics on the Energy Flows YouTube channel. If you have any questions, feel free to get in touch. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful holiday, whether you're celebrating Christmas or you've celebrated Hanukkah or many of the other holidays that are available to us. So blessings. Be well.